instead of focusing on emotion words, focus on your body signals, your body sensations. Like think about the way different body parts are feeling. So like, I don't know, like if you just peeled an orange, be like, ick, like, oh, my hands feel so sticky right now. Right. And then I like to bridge it to the action right away. Like, oh, I think I'm going to like wash my hands or get the stickiness off. So all you're doing there, you're modeling out loud, like you're noticing how your body feels. That's information that's driving what you're doing to take care of your body.
Most of us grew up learning about the five senses: sight, sound, taste, touch, and smell. But did you know there are actually 8 senses? One of the most important for our kids' ability to regulate their emotions and behaviors is something called interoception. Today, I am so excited to dive into this topic with occupational therapist Kelly Mahler. Kelly has been practicing for over 20 years with a deep focus on interoception, which is the sense that helps us notice and interpret signals from inside our body, like a racing heart, a growling stomach, or butterflies before a big event. In our conversation, we'll explore what interoception is, why it's so foundational for children's ability to regulate, and how parents can use simple relational strategies to help kids tune into their bodies and emotions in a way that builds lifelong skills. Hi, I'm Dr. Sarah Bren, a clinical psychologist and mom of 2. In this podcast, I've taken all of my clinical experience, current research on brain science and child psychology, and the insights I've gained on my own parenting journey, and distilled everything down into easy to understand and actionable parenting insights, so you can tune out the noise and tune into your own authentic parenting voice with confidence and calm. This is Securely Attached. Back to school and sports season is here, and that's why Name Bubbles, a mom-founded brand, is going to be a game changer for busy parents. Their durable, waterproof name labels for kids' stuff, lunchboxes, water bottles, backpacks, clothing, more, are all dishwasher and laundry safe, which means once you stick them on, they stay put. They are perfect for daycare, schools, sports, and camp, keeping your kids' belongings from going missing or ending up in the lost and found. Name Bubbles are award-winning and trusted by parents nationwide. To check them out for yourself, visit namebubbles.com and use code NB15 for 15% off your first order. Hi, welcome back to the show. We have Kelly Mahler here. I'm very excited to get into this conversation today because you specialize in interoception. You're an occupational therapist, but you focus really on this specific sense. And it's one of those senses that a lot of parents haven't really heard about. So, but it also has like this really huge impact on kids' ability to regulate and to connect. So before we dive into that, which is what I'm so excited about, I'd love for you maybe to start first by just telling the audience a little bit about yourself, the work you do, and how you got into interoception.
Okay, sure. Well, thanks for having me on the show, Sarah. So I am an occupational therapist. Like you said, I've been practicing for 23 years. I've primarily worked with children in the school setting, but I have also been dabbling in the adult world, which has been really fun. And so this whole thing about interoception, from the very first minute I was a baby OT 23 years ago, I've always been very interested in mental health and emotion regulation. And so that really drove my path that I started as an occupational therapist in the schools. I was getting the referrals for all the kids that were really dysregulated and no one could figure out what was going on with them. And I honestly was trying my best, but I always felt like, there was something missing. Like we were working on identify your emotion and use a coping skill and all of these, traditional things. And it wasn't until 10 years into my career that I learned about this word called interoception. And I hope it doesn't scare your listeners away because it's not super sexy, the term, but I promise that you probably will, this will probably be very common sense to a lot of people that are listening once we talk about what it is, but it is the newest sense that scientists are studying. So we all have interoception, this sense within our bodies, and its main job is to help us to to like notice our body sensations, or you call them body signals. So if you've ever noticed like maybe like a throbbing head or sweaty skin or a racing heart or a growling stomach or a full bladder, like there's just so many internal body sensations that many of us experience, and we experience those because of interoception. So these body signals are extremely important for so many things in life, including this emotion regulation that I was trying to work on, with my students, but also it's so incredibly important for things like toileting and eating habits. Like, I mean, being able to notice when you're hungry or full, or when your bladder is full, or you have a poop feeling in your butt or wherever it comes from, so like all of these sensations really help us to do everything that we need to do to take care of our body. So it's such a big deal. And once we explain it to parents, they're like, oh my goodness, this makes so much sense. And what we're finding is there are a lot of kids and adults that are very disconnected from these sensations for a variety of reasons. I mean, if we're just going to be overgeneralizing for a second, like we do live in a society that it is like, go, 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 busy, 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 screen, 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 screen. So our attention is constantly pulled outside of our bodies. We don't live in a society that like really like helps us to slow down and notice how our body is feeling. And I think that is trending a little bit now with mindfulness and all of these like body-based things. But even then, when we slow down and notice, we get signals like it's weak to take a break. It's weak to do what your body needs, like no pain, no gain, push through, work yourself till you have a chronic health condition. Like it's all of these messages that we are bombarded with. So I feel like this is just, interoception is opening a massive conversation. And I'm so excited to talk more with you about it.
Oh my God. I love how passionate you are about it. I share your passion for it. I think it's a very, like you said, it sounds like something very technical. And then when you describe it, you're like, oh, of course, there's that thing. And you came up with a name to describe this sort of category of sensations that everyone knows, right? But to your point, we don't have a lot of reinforcement in our world for staying connected to it. And then we also don't have a ton of vocabulary that's common for communicating it, because it's a multi-step thing. Like interoception is just noticing the sensations in your body, but to use it for effective communication, getting your needs met, self-regulating, co-regulating, working through a challenging situation, like that requires also an ability to describe what you are feeling, either to yourself consciously, internally. So you're translating the felt sense into a conscious kind of thought process about it, or a verbal process of saying, my stomach is grumbling, I'm hungry, can I have a snack? Or, oh, my stomach just flipped over and I think I'm nervous about something and I don't know if I want to do this thing. Can you help me figure out how to handle this? Right? Those are sophisticated, multi-level things that we're describing, yet we often jump to the tell me how you're feeling, use your words. And like what we're not understanding is like, in order to be able to use your words, that's like step 4 or 5. We have to go to we got to start at the baseline. We have to build that foundational capacity to first notice. And it's not really an emotion. It's a sensation that we translate into an emotion based on the meaning we give it. And then we can talk about it.
Yes, all of that. Yes, yes, yes. So yes, we have been for decades way too far ahead. And then we wonder, why is this so hard for kids and adults? And it's because we've been missing a lot of the foundational pieces. And I have even had conversations with like such brilliant adults, and they don't even have the interoception vocabulary like you're talking about to be able to be modeling as a parent for their kids. So it's this whole like generational cycle. And so thankfully we're here today to hopefully bring that to, a lot of parents and we can break that cycle.
I want to ask, I want to like keep going, but I want to like flip over to a different question I had that I think is important, just because if people are listening to this and they're like, okay, occupational therapy. So that's when they pull my kid out of school and they work on their handwriting, right? Like, I know that's not like, but I think there's a lot of limited understanding of the scope of what occupational therapy is. And before we get into kind of the ways that you use tools like building interoceptive awareness in your work, can you help parents understand, like, what is occupational therapy? What are the use cases for it? And like, because it's a lot, it's a really rich field, and I don't think people understand it quite well, and then don't know how to find the right kind of practitioner inside of it to help them with what they're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, I cringed when you said about OTs being handwriting teachers in schools. And I have to say that that is our fault as a profession, because we have so many OTPs, including myself, have practiced in that way. And like you said, our field is incredibly rich. Like, we were founded as a mental health profession. Like, when I was in OT school, I never even talked in any of my classes about handwriting. So when I got out there in the schools and I'm like, what do you want me to teach a kid how to write the letter A, like over and over again? Like, this is not what I signed up for. Like, so OT in its broadest sense is really, we call it occupational therapy, because we're talking about the occupations of daily life. So what is meaningful for each person to engage in every day? So whether that's play, or that's maybe all of your self-care activities like showering and bathing and eating. It's going to school. It's being able to participate in the classroom in a regulated way so you can learn. It's everything that we do every day. And so what an OT is trained to do, we have such a holistic training, and trying to figure out when there is a barrier to participation, what is that barrier and how can we support so that a person can engage meaningfully. And so if you are a parent out there and you were seeking OT, and I've heard this from so many parents, and maybe it's even like a school situation where they've asked for occupational therapy evaluation, and that OT comes in and they assess their kid's handwriting and says, nope, they don't qualify, but yet your child is still really struggling to participate in the classroom because they're dysregulated maybe, or there's some other barrier, like that's a flaw in our system. And I know so many amazing occupational therapists now out there that are really getting back to our roots and really doing things like interoception and really getting back to this meaningful engagement in all of our daily occupations.
Okay, that's so refreshing to hear, because I work with a lot of kids and families and parents. And, people will call us up and say, my 4-year-old, I'd like them to go to therapy. And oftentimes I say, like, look, we could just start with parenting support or maybe some parent-child dyadic therapy. But typically, I don't think individual child psychotherapy is the first line for a 4-year-old or a younger child, or even sometimes 6, 7, 8-year-olds. Like, I think if they can engage in certain aspects of play therapy and talk therapy, then yes. But some kids, that's not really, they need to be moving completely. And the way that an occupational therapy office is typically set up is like, it's like fun zone, jungle gym. It's the best. And it's such a great, more appropriate place, in my opinion, to start with younger kids and older kids. I don't want to like preclude older kids from going to OT either. It just, once they have the capacity to do more verbal, reflective stuff, they can participate in types of, psychotherapy, right? But I think that it's an underrated resource that we often send families to. And it's just because maybe your field is not good at explaining it in the mass way. And also the name occupational therapy is confusing, I think, sometimes too.
It is really. What? My kid doesn't have a job. I don't know why they need occupational therapy. They have lots of jobs. They're just not paid jobs yet. But their jobs are like just to live their life and play and engage in all of those daily activities.
Yeah. So at some point, if you know of like a good resource for parents to find occupational therapists that do this kind of work, right, that are this really integrative whole, like really looking at the like complexity of functioning, is there a place where people can go to find a good occupational therapist, or like resources or directories?
I can't, well, there probably is. None that are coming to my mind, but I always encourage parents to, like, if you're looking for example, like an outpatient therapy clinic, call ahead, ask, like, what exactly will they evaluate in your child? Evaluate how holistic they are. Do they look at all 8 senses? Do they know about interoception? Like, it is your right as a parent to ask questions and to be a savvy consumer, and to, and I know that some some areas of our country are more limited in their resources, and sometimes there is only one place to go, but you have the right. And parents sometimes like that's sometimes shocking to them, like, oh, you have the right to like shop around and find the best fit for your child.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. So I'm glad. And people can also probably contact you, and you could probably help them find places in their local area. I don't want to like overwhelm you with like,
no, but we have a very helpful Facebook group. If I can just say, it's called Interoception, the eighth sense, because interoception is our eighth sense. And you can go in there. We always have parents posting like, hey, I'm looking for an OT in, what area you live in, and usually we'll have practitioners like connecting with parents that way too.
Oh, good. That's good. We'll link that in the show notes because that's a useful resource.
Yep.
So, okay, let's get into interoception then. Like, maybe let's start. We've talked about this on the podcast before, but not everyone's listened to every episode. We'll link some of them in the show notes also that like touch on this stuff. But let's talk about the eight senses, because people are like, well, I know of five. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Eight. Yeah. So most of us know about the five basic senses like smell, sight, sound, touch, and taste. And I kind of refer to those as like our outside senses or external senses. So they're pulling in sensory information from the world outside of our body. So like, you have your eyeballs for the sense of sight, pulling in all that you see around your body, or you have like receptors for hearing in your ears, pulling in all that you hear around your body. But then we also have three inside senses. So these senses are pulling in information from the inside of our body. So we have the vestibular sense. So you have little receptors for the vestibular sense in your inner ear, and it's our sense of movement. So like every time you move, those little receptors are like beep, 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 like you're moving and sending information to your brain about like what direction are you moving, how fast are you moving, and so forth. So it's very important for like things like balance. It also has a big tie to a fancy word called our arousal level. So like how energetic you feel. So if you think about like if you have ever like, I don't know, gone on a roller coaster, like that's the extreme example that's coming to my mind. And all of that like super intense, fast movement for many people, their energy level changes after getting such intense movement. But the same is true, like if we're just slow rocking in a rocking chair, and that like really can affect our energy level too. So the vestibular sense is really helpful for that energy regulation. Then we have our proprioception sense, and that's your sense of like where your body parts are located in space. So you have receptors in all of your muscles, your joints, giving information to your brain about like where's your body positioned. So like when I'm climbing the stairs, like I have fairly firm sense of proprioception. I don't have to like watch my foot on every single step and watch and place it, perfectly. Like it's just automatically happening. I don't have to watch my body. That proprioceptive system is sending that information to my brain about how my body is placing on the steps and moving. And then we have the eighth sense, which is interoception. And we kind of already talked about that, but you have receptors in all of the tissues in your body, meaning like all of your organs, your bones, your eyeballs. You have interoception receptors pretty much everywhere, collecting information about the condition of all of those different body parts or what sensations are going on in all of those body parts.
Yeah. And then, so I was just curious, have you ever heard of conversations around the ninth sense of neuroception?
So I am familiar with neuroception. To me, that is part of interoception. And most neuroscientists they talk about interoception. I think neuroception is a term coined by Dr. Stephen Porges, who's brilliant with with all of his theories and the polyvagal theory. But what he's really talking about, if you want to get to a neuroscience term, is that's an aspect of interoception.
Got it. So basically you think of interoception as like an umbrella, and neuroception is like a piece of it that lives under that's picking up the sensations of our fight or flight response, basically.
Yes. That's basically right. Yeah. If you want to get super technical, interoception scientists talk about how we have like two branches of the sense, and it's like the conscious branch and the unconscious branch. So there's a lot of things happening in our body, like imbalances, like your pH levels might be off, or your blood sugar, or your ion concentration, and all of those interoception receptors are monitoring all of that, and automatic changes are happening within your body, thankfully, that are not reaching our consciousness. Like probably none of us woke up this morning and said, whew, golly gee, my liver liver's releasing a lot of enzymes this morning. Like we can't feel all of those things, thank goodness, because it would be very overwhelming. But then we have what we're here talking about today, and we have that conscious side of things where these sensations reach our level of consciousness, like, oh, like I have a funny feeling like down below my belly button. I think I have to pee, right? And that's reaching our consciousness so that
breaks through.
It breaks through. And yeah, and it like kind of, it spurs us into action and like gets us like doing things to purposefully take care of our body.
So when you were saying that, that made me have this like kind of light bulb in my head. Do you find that there are certain kids or adults, but people who have a heightened sensitivity to interoceptive cues, which then, well, we know that, right? We know that some people are more sensitive to their interoceptive,
Yes.
Signals. But if you are more sensitive, would that also likely mean that like more of your interoceptive signals are breaking through into consciousness, which could then be kind of like an overwhelming internal experience of like, I get overloaded faster because I'm getting more signals. Like there's more noise coming at my conscious awareness, which, when I'm sitting in a classroom and I'm supposed to be focusing on this one thing that the teacher wants me to focus on, but like I'm kind of getting blasted by all this noise from inside my body, like this itch and this like, and like the wriggling, and it's just I feel like that could be really overwhelming. It could lead to irritability. It could lead to a lot of maybe hyperactive, fidgety, can't sit still, can't focus, things we might see in an ADHD profile, but also things we might just see in like agitation and frustration and emotion dysregulation.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I don't think we know enough scientifically about what is happening in that experience, but there are so many people that have this intense inner experience like you're describing. And I feel like when we talk about interoception differences, we talk about the muted side of things, which we can talk about in a second, but the intense inner experience gets a lot less focus on, but it is extremely common. We hear from people all the time explaining their experiences just like what you're saying, where all of these sensations are just reaching their level of consciousness and it's overwhelming. Like one of my clients explained her inner experience as like one of those glitter timers that you shake and the glitter goes everywhere. And she's like, I don't even know what to pay attention to. What does this all mean? It's just like so like overwhelming.
And I would imagine like, okay, whether you are muted in your awareness of, well, I guess there's two layers, right? There's the actual activity and sensitivity of your receptors, right? So like you could have muted like physiological arousal, right? In those ways where you're just not, the cues don't pop up through consciousness at all or heightened. So like the cues are popping up a lot. And then on the second level is your kind of awareness or processing of it, like on a conscious level. So I know what to make sense of it. Like I could have like lowered capacity to notice what's happening and make sense of it. I could have, I think what we're all trying to build towards in your work is a greater capacity to make sense of, to notice and make sense of. So like there's the noticing and making sense of spectrum. And then below it is just the, how loud are your cues?
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if this helps, like if we kind of merge like the way that we structure our work and we have it broken down into notice body signals, connect body signals, regulate body signals. So the noticing piece comes from like practicing noticing a variety of different body signals and different body parts. But then it's like what you're talking about, like it's not enough just to notice this like, tingly feeling in my stomach. You have to be able to connect it to the meaning for you. Like what does that feeling in your body mean for you? And then you also have to take it to that third level of, regulating. Like, do you know what action your body uniquely needs in that moment? Because as hard as this was for me to learn as an occupational therapist, because I was practicing in this way, I can't just come in with a pre-prescribed list of coping strategies and it's going to match every single person's body. Like a fidget in the classroom is not going to meet everyone. A calming corner in the classroom is not going to meet everyone's body. So when we give people the knowledge about their body, of the being able to notice and connect their body signals, then they are equipped to be able to find unique actions that that meet their body's needs. And so a lot of the a lot of the research that's coming out, and this is not consistent. Like, so if we look at anxiety research, a lot of it is finding that breakdown comes from the connecting piece. So they're noticing a lot of body signals, but they don't know what they mean. So that just
Mm-hmm.
drives the anxiety even more. It makes more sense. And then that anxiety is probably heightening the physiological response, which then is setting off even more body sensations. It's
Right.
probably like this vicious cycle. But I don't want to like leave out the people that also experience anxiety because they have a muted inner experience and they're not noticing enough body signals. So their body is very unreliable. And it's like
Mhm.
things just come out of the blue that they just had no idea were
Wow.
happening. So we have so much more to learn, but it's really a fascinating area of science to watch.
But that is really interesting. And it kind of illustrates the fact that the importance of interoceptive skills like across those three domains that you were talking about, notice, connect, and what was the third
Regulate,
one?
regulate.
Regulate.
Yeah.
And like, because if any of those area, like even just in anxiety, it might be a different set of problems. Like the breakdown might be at different places, even just in two anxious kids.
Yep.
And then of course, this is important for things beyond anxiety, right? It's
Oh, yeah.
important for regulating all emotions. But I see this a lot with like rage and frustration and like these sort of like these kids that go from 0 to 100 in like a second.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the skill there is slowing down urge and action.
Yes.
And the way you do that is we have to help them first understand urge and action aren't fused. And then buy time, like help them actually practice kind of staying in readiness before they go into doing, and not in the hot moments, not like when they are furious, but like in play, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I think you build these skills. We talk a lot about how in the moment, there's very little we can do to teach a kid something different.
Right.
But in the after, there's some, but the before, like before the next
Yes.
big thing, that's like the richest time to teach skill building. And so, when a kid's going to their OT session or their therapy session or hanging out with you playing at, in the living room, whatever, those are before moments usually.
Yeah. For
So
sure.
how do you leverage that? Like, what are some of the strategies that you help your clients or parents for their own kids, like
Mhm.
to build first awareness, noticing, and
Mhm.
then connecting, and then regulating?
Yeah. So we have a lot of ideas. So I'm just going to try to be brief here. My favorite thing, if you're just getting started with this work as a parent, is to start modeling your own inner experience, which I just want to say might sound simple, but it's not for a lot of parents because this is new not only to your child, it's probably new to you. And I was raised in a loving household, but my parents weren't walking around talking about the way their body feels. Like, so I didn't have a lot of language, I didn't have a lot of modeling. So when I started learning about this, like it was really hard to get used to. So what I'm trying to say is be gentle on yourself. But what I'm talking about is like really instead of focusing on emotion words, focus on your body signals, your body sensations. Like think about the way different body parts are feeling. So like, I don't know, like if you just peeled an orange, be like, ick, like, oh, my hands feel so sticky right now. Right. And then I like to bridge it to the action right away. Like, oh, I think I'm going to like wash my hands or get the stickiness off.
Mm.
So all you're doing there, you're modeling out loud, like you're noticing how your body feels, and it's kind of driving something that you're doing. That's information that's driving what you're doing to take care of your body. Or like, the example I was giving you earlier, like, gosh, I have this like really funny, like burning feeling, or not burning, but like it's pressure, I think. Like modeling that you're not sure and you're working it out is really important too. Like it's like right below my belly button. I think this like means I have to pee. I'm going to go check it out and see. So you're like modeling what you're noticing your body. So you're saying out loud the way my body's feeling and like what you're going to do to go kind of be curious about it and check it out. So really going from I kind of picture it in like two like columns, like notice your body signals out loud and then talk about the action piece of what you're going to do to regulate it. So
Mhm.
I don't know if you're noticing in that process, we're not even saying anything about emotion words right now. We're going right from body signals to the action piece. So like noticing to regulating.
Mhm.
But what this does is it's showing your child like you have these internal processes that you're paying attention to. So maybe they might start to like kind of pick up on that. You're also getting interoception vocabulary out there, which I think is really important for kids and adults. So that modeling piece, like just focusing on yourself first. And then I like, once there's a foundation there, then we start to like pull in the child and be a little bit more curious about them. Like if you're like doing the orange example, like, oh, like, ew, like my hands feel so sticky after that orange, after we peel that orange. I wonder if it's same or different for you. So we're now flipping the curiosity to the child. We're wondering, how do your hands feel after you peeled that orange? And we're being really careful in this curiosity, because what we're finding in this work is that we all have such different inner experiences. So your hands might be feeling sticky, or even like it's an uncomfortable feeling for you, but your child might be loving it, right? Like they're like, this
Mhm.
is the best feeling in my body. Like we don't know. So we want to try to avoid assuming their inner experience. We want to get that curiosity out there, like wondering about their body. Like, do your hands feel the same or different for you? Or how do they feel? Or I wonder what's going on in your body. So just being curious. And when you start that curiosity, your child might not be able to respond. Like they might not know. And that's okay. Like I just think like being curious is the first step. And then
Mhm.
eventually over time, many kids start to be able to like kind of like tell us either with words or like through actions, like, ugh, like, no, I don't like that, or, you know, whatever it is.
Mhm.
So the modeling and then bridging it to curiosity about your child's body.
Yeah, and you're describing these sort of like day-to-day, like kind of benign, neutral situations. Do you find that there's like a place to start? Like, is it like a bit of a staircase where it's like, we're going to start about with like these neutral things that like are just part of everyday life. And then maybe now we're going to like, oh, you fell down, you skin your knee and you're upset. And maybe we could talk about how like there's like a burning under your kneecap. You can like feel that sensation of like, it's like stinging or it's burning versus like being hurt, right? Like, so trying like, or now we might be talking about it in like, oh, it's my kids just went back to school. Like I might be saying like, oh man, I'm feeling this like kind of nervous feeling, this butterfly in my stomach kind of thing. Cause it's like the first day of something new. And sometimes when I don't know what to expect, I get this like kind of tingly feeling in my belly, or like, so we're trying to just also describe sensations of emotions that do feel maybe harder.
Mm-hmm.
They're more abstract, right?
Yep.
Versus like, we all know what a sticky orange feels like. That's really so kind of concrete and tactile.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to kind of like deepen this vocabulary into other areas that might be more seemingly more abstract, but trying to concretize them.
Yeah, absolutely. So you want to start with very neutral experiences at first, because if we start with the uncomfortable emotions, like who is going to buy into this work? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
if we're only noticing those sensations when our body is like feeling uncomfortable, like it's just and I'm not saying that sticky hands might be very uncomfortable. But into my mind, it's like just a little bit more emotionally neutral.
Mhm.
And then slowly working your way. Like I still yet to this day, like 12 years into this work, have never recommended ever doing this during a meltdown, like a full
Never.
blown, but
We
like,
don't learn in meltdowns. Meltdowns are when we're
yeah,
just we're just keeping it safe.
that's right. A meltdown is not a teachable moment. Someone
Yes.
sent me this. Isn't
There
this
is an
amazing?
app for people who are listening and can't see the video. She's literally holding up a sign that lives in her office that says a meltdown is not a teachable moment. Like, I need that sign. Did you
Yeah.
make that or did you buy that?
One of my listener, or one of my, like someone that took my course sent this to me.
Oh my God, I love that.
I know. So yes. But what we're really finding, which is so interesting in this work, is that even through playing and noticing more neutral body sensations, it's spilling over into the difficult moments, because kids are getting this practice noticing how their body feels. And that spills over into noticing maybe some of those more subtle sensations, like, hey, like I'm just starting to get a little overwhelmed, or hey, I'm just starting to need to pee a little bit. like,
Mhm.
catching those early moments. And so we start with those neutral, and then sometimes we'll work our way towards the next step. And this is not going to be true for every single person. I want to say I'm just kind of giving some general guidelines, but we tend to work towards like what we call homeostatic emotions. Again, I do not make these words up. These are interoception scientists. But what I
Mhm.
mean by homeostatic emotions is exactly like the example you gave, Sarah, like with the pain. So like falling and bumping their knee and like kind of working in that space, or like noticing like maybe body signals before a meal or after a meal, or with toileting, or maybe noticing like when your body's like getting overheated or when you're cold. Like these are all
Mhm.
homeostatic emotions.
Right.
And
Which
then
to
we,
translate, like I'm
yeah,
correcting, if I'm
please
getting
do.
this correctly,
Yeah.
when we talk about homeostatic emotions, we're talking about the not emotional emotions, not affective emotions, but
Yeah.
emotions that are related to like keeping ourselves at baseline, right? If I'm hungry, I've moved away from baseline. If I'm painfully full, I've moved away from baseline of homeostasis. If my knee is burning because I just scraped it on the asphalt when I fell off my bike, I've moved away from homeostasis. So this sort of baseline regulated nervous system, regulated body,
Yes.
that's a homeostatic emotion. Sometimes, and we don't need to get into this so technical, but like we often conflate the words affect and emotion, but they're actually different, right?
Mhm.
Affective emotions are a type of emotion, and homeostatic emotion is a type of emotion. So I
Yeah.
think that hopefully makes it more plain, but I think your examples of it gave like really helped.
Okay, good. And thank you for translating that for me. And I think maybe the reason why homeostatic emotions tend to be like a little bit easier of a starting point than getting to those affective emotions like frustration and anxiety and embarrassment. Like and this is my best guess, and maybe you'll have some insight into this too. The homeostatic emotions tend to be a little bit more neutral in, I don't know, that maybe their levels of shame and guilt.
Yeah.
Like, if I may
Well,
say
shame or
that.
even like arousal,
Mhm.
right? Like we do get when you think about arousal levels, like when you move out of homeostasis, there is you're going to ideally be aroused to some degree to go cue you in to regulate back down.
Mhm.
Like if you've ever had to pee really, really bad, and you're like driving in a car and you can't like that, you are awake, like you are as awake as you could possibly be. Like you are very aroused, but you know, when you are enraged, like the threat is all so it's shame, but also threat, I would think.
Ooh,
Like,
yes, that's what it is, maybe the threat and shame combined.
yeah, I think threat and shame, it's it's connected to like a much more, I don't know, affective emotions they're just a higher level
Mhm.
than homeostatic emotions. They don't carry as much, there's not as much at stake
Yes.
in our relationships. Like, and we're hardwired to attend to that, whether we know it or not, whether we're aware of it or not.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Probably has an evolutionary basis there.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so I think we just need to be careful in how we're like really pulling kids into their bodies and noticing it. We want them to be comfortable. We want them to feel safe. We want them to buy into this. So that's kind of why we gently ease them into their bodies.
Yeah. It's like learning any new skill, right? You don't start in the advanced level. You don't, if you're going to try to like start training for a marathon, you're not running 30 miles to start. We have to start at the beginning. We have to build these muscles. And in doing it through play, in doing it through neutral times, in doing it through connected moments, modeling it first, then doing playful things that feel fun, they're getting the reps in.
I love that you just said they're getting their reps in, because that's exactly what it's about. It's about giving so many reps of noticing different body parts,
Mm-hmm.
so that when the moment calls on it and your access to that thinking brain goes away, when we get to those high level threat, shame, emotion, affective emotions, it's almost like a habit. It's
Mm-hmm.
almost like we are used to this. We're used to relying on our body signals for important information.
We've been talking about how being playful can be such a powerful way to help kids build skills. And that's exactly why I created a free resource I think you're going to love. It's a guide filled with playful, connection based games for kids of all ages that are designed to support your child's developing brain and nervous system. These activities are simple, fun, and most importantly, backed by science, so they actually work, helping your child build the emotional wiring they need to calm their body and grow their resilience over time. You can grab the link to download the free guide right in the episode description or head to drsarahbren.com/games to get it sent straight to your inbox. That's drsarahbren.com/games. Okay, now let's get back to the episode. So let's go to play for a second, because I think play is one of the best ways to build these skills. Are there some games or activities or things that you do with your clients or that you teach families to do that, like, I mean, obviously we've been saying, like, you have to do an individualized approach.
Yeah.
You have to figure out what your kids' preferences are, what their strengths are, what they're not as good at. And you're going to have to kind of tailor it. But what are big hits? What kind of, what are good things that people can have in their back pocket for, like, a chill moment where, like, I'm going to do some reps now. Let's get some practice in.
Yeah. Well, one of our favorite and most popular strategies is something called focus area experiments. It's from the Interoception curriculum, but you don't need the curriculum to do these. So what they are, so as the name implies, focus area. So we pick one body part. I usually like to, we didn't mention this either, I like to start with outside body parts first, like noticing your hands or your feet or how your nose feels or how your ears feel, because they tend to be a little bit more concrete because kids can see the body parts while they're also working on how do they feel. And then we slowly move into noticing our inside body parts, like how does my heart feel, or how do my lungs feel, or how does my stomach or my bladder feel. And I know that if you're someone that you're like really working on potty learning with your child, it's really like kind of a draw to go right to the bladder. But I really encourage you to start with some outside body parts first. And so you pick your focus area. So let's just say we're going to do hands. And then we use some experiments. And what we talk about is we try to playfully evoke a stronger sensation in that body part. So in the hands, for example. And so like maybe we'll hold an ice cube, or we'll shake our hands really fast in a silly way. We'll squeeze like some slime or make some slime together. And so those activities are most likely, we can't guarantee because everyone's body is different, but they're probably evoking a stronger sensation within that hand that helps capture attention. It helps make it super concrete. And like, now let's be curious about your hands. Like, how do your hands feel while you're holding the ice cube? Or how do your hands feel while we're making slime together? And it gives the reps, like you were talking about, the reps of like noticing how the hands feel. And again, I can't stress enough, like, try not to label what you think your child's hands are experiencing, what they're noticing in their hands, but really get curious about what their unique experience is. Because I've been trained in a lot of programs, and we've been trained to label, like either label emotions like, oh, you look frustrated right now, or even that's spilling over a little bit into this interoception work, just I think by accident because of those emotion labeling programs, like, oh, I bet your hands are feeling slimy right now, or I bet your hands are feeling cold right now, right? And so we want to try to avoid labeling, because that's us assuming what they're experiencing. And what we're hearing from so many people is that when we label an emotion or a sensation, that we are at high risk of being wrong. And so think about this from your child's perspective. Like, if you're constantly having your emotions or your body signals mislabeled by another person, lovingly mislabeled, I have to say, for the right reasons. I have to say, I've done so much of this. But if you are constantly having your inner experience mislabeled, it becomes so confusing to you. Like, all these other people are saying I look frustrated, or all these other people say that my hands must feel cold right now, but that's not my inner experience. What we hear from so many kids as they get older is they start to doubt themselves. They start to not trust their bodies because all these other people are saying it. So they must be the one that's wrong. So they never develop this authentic attachment to their bodies. It's always other people's narrative. So it's really, really important. Even if your child can't respond when you're like holding ice cubes and you're like, I wonder how your hands feel right now. Really, I know then the instinct is like, I don't want my kid to struggle. Like, I'm going to tell them what I think is going on, but really try to be curious there. So you could say, like, you could bring in modeling again and be like, oh, my hands like feel drippy and numb right now while I'm holding this ice cube. And I wonder if it's same or different for you. So you're saying it could be the same, but it also could be different. Or you could give them a couple options like, oh, I wonder if your hands like feel like wet, or I wonder if they feel cold, or if they feel numb, or maybe something else altogether. So
Mm-hmm.
give them that option of something else, like that
Yeah.
you are not labeling and saying, I know your body. You're giving some curiosity there.
Yeah. I love that. One other thing I'm thinking about is like, okay, you and I were on a podcast. We are doing nothing but talking, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you're doing this exercise with your kid, you might be very compelled to do a lot of talking because you've heard all of these examples of things to say. So you're trying them all out. I would say please give yourself permission to know that if you say it one time and you play for 15 minutes and you said one reflective thing about your interoceptive experience and get curious one time about their interoceptive experience, check, you've completed the exercise. Like the reps come from kind of being in it. And I think one of the challenges, I see this a lot with parents, even outside of these like interoceptive exercises, because I don't, I love when people do this, but I'm just, when we're labeling feelings, when we're talking to our kid, we're helping try to co-regulate with them and get them through a tough moment. I see parents they can't stop talking. They get real. And the ironic thing is when we're trying to help a kid build interoceptive awareness, they really need to be in their felt sense. They need to be in their body. And when we talk to them, they go to their mind, and that pulls them out of the felt sense. So it's tricky because it's like we want to help a little bit with the labeling and the connecting and the regulating piece, but it's okay to over-index on the noticing part. So give them that info. Oh my God, my hands, they're freezing right now. I feel this like stinging sensation underneath where the ice cube is. And like my other fingers are like, they want to kind of like let go a little bit. Like, oh, this feels so weird. What are you feeling? And just see what they say as though you're having a normal like conversation with, not like, oh, now we're going to practice noticing. It's like, oh, be super authentic. Like, what do you notice? Ask your kid what they notice. And then go back to playing so that now you've planted a seed. You've made that like kind of like conscious link for them so that they could take their felt sense, connect it to their hands in that moment, do some sort of cognitive processing, whether they could say it to you or not, because they might not have the language yet, but you're helping them make the link.
Yep.
And then let them play now because you've kind of connected the fields, right? Don't interrupt that connection with more talking. Like let them be in the field. Let them be in that connected space for a while. We don't have to lead this very much at all. We can just kind of like, you just want to click the things together and then get out of their way.
Yeah, absolutely. I always talk about how it's almost like a coaching model. Like you're not going to be on the field with them, right? Like you're just going to like, I like how you said plant the seed. Like you're just going to like plant the seed and put them out there in the field, which is their body,
Yes.
hopefully. And that they're taking time to like really connect in that safe space with you.
Yeah. Because that's the other thing. Like your job is less to do the narrating and the explaining and more to be sort of this presence. Because when they are in that connected, relational sort of like container with you, they can actually engage so much more freely with their felt sense because we actually can't go into the felt sense if we aren't feeling kind of super safe and connected. Like that, going back to that polyvagal reference, like we need to be in our parasympathetic, our ventral vagal, our safety connection, like space to do any of this learning, but also to be aware, to go into the body. If we feel even a little bit uncomfortable, that relationally, like you're going to get frustrated with me, or you're going to stop paying attention to me for a little bit. Like you might go into like you're multitasking, like just you being present and focused on the play with them actually acts as like a co-regulating body so that they can stay in the felt sense. So you're doing a lot by just zipping it and just being with them.
Yes. That's really hard for myself and a lot of people to know
Oh
that,
yeah.
like, sometimes when you're quote unquote doing nothing, you're doing everything, but you're really not doing nothing, are you?
No,
No.
it's
Yeah.
true. I get this a lot because I do a lot of supervising of therapists and training therapists, and especially working with kids and play therapy, and a lot of times like early therapists are like, I feel like I'm not doing anything, and I feel like the parents are going to be like, why are you just playing Jenga with my kid all day? And I feel like I need to like show them all the worksheets that we did, or show them the proof that we like did this thing. And I'm like, I know it's really hard to fight. And as parents, we kind of feel the same. Like no one's going to be evaluating us, but although we think that everyone is all the time, but like we do feel like we have to be like quote teaching or quote parenting, or it's like you're doing so much by being the container.
Yeah. So well
And
said.
yeah. Ugh. This is so interesting. I really hope that this is empowering for parents to realize like they sound complicated, these terms, but they're so intuitively simple, and they're just part of the human experience. And we're not teaching a kid really anything new. We're just teaching them to connect to something that has always existed in their body since the day that they were like literally like incepted, because they're aware of, they have interoceptive sensory experiences in utero. Like this is from day one. They are able to experience this. So we're not teaching them something that new. We're just teaching them how to stay in the noticing, to make meaning of it, connect, and to eventually build the skill of using that connection to regulate. And so for a lot of kids, it's actually relatively intuitive to go from connect to regulate. It can be difficult for a lot of kids too. I don't want to imply that this is, if you just step back, it will click for them. But I think we also really have to trust our kids that given the right building blocks and the right environment and the right support, this is very doable.
Absolutely. It's been an interesting adventure. And I'm proven, like my hunches are proven wrong a lot because interoception is so new. And a lot of our research projects, like they've been short intervention windows because they're done with occupational therapy students and they want to be done with their research before they graduate. So anyways, it gives us this 8-week window and all we're doing is practicing the noticing. So all of those experiments that we were just talking about, but yet we're having statistically significant gains in emotion regulation. So we're not even getting to the connecting or the regulating piece. I'm not saying that that's not needed, especially for, certain children and adults, but I think it's really fascinating to think about that. Like just the noticing that we've been talking about so much is having just automatic spillover into kids being able to identify what emotion they're experiencing and how do I regulate this meaningfully to me.
Right. And that actually maps onto other mindfulness neuropsychological research as well. Like they do brain scans of people who do practice mindfulness, and it changes the structure of the brain. It does build more, I forget if it's white matter or gray matter, but the important parts in the prefrontal cortex and like in more neural connectivity. And those are the things that allow for the byproduct of emotion regulation and meaning making. Like, so the noticing is probably a big, big, big part of why the connecting and the regulating becomes available.
Mm-hmm.
So I would over index on noticing.
Agreed.
That makes so much sense.
Agreed.
Thank you so much for coming on. If people listening want to get in touch with you or learn more about your work, where can we send them?
Probably my website, Kelly, or www.kelly-mahler.com. And you'll see if you go on my website, I'm very passionate about lots of free resources. So we have free printables, we have free blog posts, free videos. So you can learn more about the interoception curriculum there that I referenced. I think that's probably the best place to start.
Amazing. Tell me really quickly about the interoception curriculum, and is it a course that people can sign? How do people do it?
Well, we do have courses, but the Interoception curriculum is actually a physical book. It's like 25 lessons, and it's chunked into 3 sections. Like, so there's 15 lessons on noticing body signals, and then there's 4 lessons on connecting body signals to the emotion, and then the last part of it is the action piece of exploring all different kinds of feel good actions to find what matches your unique body felt experience. So it's something that I design mostly for professionals to use, but there's so many parents that are using it because they are, they're seeing the value of it, and they're really having a hard time finding professionals that are doing this work yet. So
Okay.
you can check that out on my website.
That's sounds like an amazing resource. I've got to check that out too. Thank you so much. It was really, really lovely talking with you.
Same. Thank you.
If you enjoyed listening to this conversation, I want to hear from you. Share your thoughts and your feedback with me by scrolling down to the ratings and review section on your Apple Podcast app or whatever app you're listening on, and let me know what you think of this episode or the show in general. Your support means the absolute world to me, and just a simple tap of 5 stars can make a real impact in how this show gets reached by parents everywhere. So thank you so much for listening, and don't be a stranger.